Starting the recorder. Welcome everybody. This is the Thursday evening Viper trading webinar. If you're here to learn about trading the futures markets using the Viper tools, you're in the right place. First, we have to knock our standard disclaimer out of the way, and then we can get straight away to it. All communications from Viper Trading Systems are for educational purposes only. Futures trading does involve risk, and there is a risk of loss. Nothing contained in this webinar, other webinars, including the live trading room, are to be construed as investment or trading advice. And of course, everyone in here does know that you do trade at your own sole discretion. Alrighty then. Let's get straight away over to some charts, which I know why everybody is here. Tonight's topic is GoodBoxBadBox Revisited. Now, there's been several times over the past, I'd say, year and a half. Does everybody see a NASDAQ chart, by the way? Checking visual, 4-range NASI chart. Everybody see it? You see it? Okay. Yeah, it was probably over the past year and a half. I periodically do these region box webinars because they're so integral and one of the more important trade setups in our repertoire of trading, trade setups. And so I thought it'd be valuable. We have a lot of new people who may not really know what a region box is, or where to draw it, or when to recognize a good or a bad one. So I thought it was very timely to go back and revisit this topic. First of all, I'm going to start off with just a quick recap of the basics, very, very quick, and then I'm going to get right into the box setups themselves. Okay. All right. So here is NASDAQ. Of course, we can see here, this is the close of the market today. So close of the market is 1 o'clock my time, Pacific, which would have been right here. You can see that we changed from the sell-off that we had into the close. Here's the sell-off into the close. It was dropping a little bit here, found support, came up, hit a resistance level, pulled back, and we went into a series of nice moves up. Now, after we peaked out here, you can see the obvious, right? The background turned green, bars are blue. All the bands, including the mid-band, are stair-stepping up. We are clearly in an uptrend, and we are buying pullbacks to support. That's what we do in trends, right? And so when a market is trending very, very strongly, sometimes you don't get much of a pullback to get in, and I know that can be frustrating. Hey, Maurizio, we're just getting started. You haven't missed much. Ciao, Bella. Here, for instance, was the thrust that changed the background to green. We get a higher low here. Does not come all the way to the mid-band, holds that area right there. And then we only get shallow retracements as it continues to stair-step its way up. Now, what I say by shallow is, just real quick, and this is a reminder of how we look at retracements. Retracements can be anywhere in this sort of little box that in our mind's eye, right? And that's, when it comes down into right in here, that's considered a shallow retracement. You get another couple more. And I know those are harder to trade because you want to jump in, but you feel like you're still kind of chasing it right here, Here's another one right here where it didn't quite get to the mid-band. And I know that can be frustrating. So, the way to do that is to either use the line or the ray tool so that you don't necessarily have to have a region box form to allow you to get in and participate in the move. Each one of these you could have used the line or ray tool. The ray tool, of course, in the OT tool, and then the line tool, we have a line trader that some of you use. So that's another, in addition to the region box, this is another valuable tool, the line or the ray tool, because what this does is this you don't have to necessarily, when you're using this type of retracement tool, wait for it to hit some predefined area in your mind. You're looking for it to simply break up from wherever it pulls back to. Yeah, Brian, the ray tool is a good tool. You know, it's a little, how would you say, finicky sometimes. It's something you kind of have to play with a little bit to get used to it. But once you get used to it and you figure out how to sort of position it correctly, and of course in the case of these lines right here, you would enable only long trades, right? So when we say in the room long only, we're basically saying that you're in an uptrend and you only want to take longs. Everybody see that? All right, now let's come up here. This is going to get us into talking a little bit about the boxes. Once we peak out at this swing right here, and when we pull back into the midband right here, we have a couple of conditions that occur. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and put a line up here. And I'm going to take some time to explain what's happening at the midband here and discuss different ways on how you could trade it. I'm going to do this one just straight up looking at it. Then subsequent ones where we look at it, we're going to, I'll do a setup, and then the team will collectively make a call on what to do. So I'll just go ahead and show all these right now because there were several of them. The first one occurred right here. I'm going to show it in a couple of different ways. There's a couple of different ways to draw this. You really want to kind of take your ray tool or your region ray or line tool, if you're going to use that, and run it about at a 45-degree angle. I know some people, and if you've experimented with this tool, you know what I'm talking about, sometimes tighten the angle a little too tight like this. Sometimes you get bipped into trades you don't want. You got to give the market a little wiggle room. You generally want to go right at about 45 degrees. So in this case here, you would have been long on this candle right here. Now you could make the case that when it first hit the midband, if you were using the region box and you had enough time and it just sat there like this, you would have engulfed it candles like this. This would be an example of a good box, and you'd be filled long on this candle right here. Now, if that went too fast, or you didn't see it, or you know, for whatever reason you didn't get in, there was a second box that formed just under the midband right in here. So let's strike to the heart of what a good box is and what constitutes not a good box, and how specifically to draw the boxes. Oopie doodle. Oh, here we are. Okay, sorry about that. Let me really blow this up so you can really see what I'm going to talk about right here. It really comes down to pretty much the size of the box, the location of the box, and how the region forms itself. Here we can see that this candle came down to 78.25, and the tops of these candles were 80.25. So that's about 8 ticks. That's a very, very good box. Anything under 10 ticks is considered a very good region box. And we're looking to get long here because the trend is up. So we're buying support, and we're looking to get long closing on this bar right here. So you had been long on that bar right there. All right. You want to make sure that you engulf the both the wicks and the bodies of the candles. So for instance, in the room, you see Gary drawing boxes sometimes around the midband, right? And we have to be, how would I say it best? You have to be quick but careful. So, you know, you can't, you know, in a fast-moving market, you can't just sort of dawdle around and say, you know, is my box over here? Is it like that? Or what do I do with my box? You got to kind of develop a little bit of an eye to see when the box is forming. Hit your you know, your hotkeys, get the box up there, position it, hit enter. And of course, on your object trader panel over here to the right, everything has to be configured before you start trading. So if you're going to trade 1 or 2 or 3 contracts, whatever your targets are, your short-term targets, your trailing stops, everything on your panel on OT over here, this panel has to be configured. What I'm saying is you don't want to come put in a box in a fast-moving market and then start to try to figure out what all your targets and stops and how you're going to trade it. You got to have your short toggled off, your long toggled on, all your settings all set up, and then simply position your box or your ray tool. Now, over here, by the way, you probably did not get stopped out when you got filled long on this bar. Let's look at this real quick to make sure you would not have. The standard stop is 12 ticks. So let's say you were filled 80 3/4, and this bottomed out here at 77 3/4. So how many ticks is that? 1 tick is 78 plus 2, 8. That's right about 10 ticks. That's right about 10 ticks. So, your 12 tick stop, initial stop, would have been somewhere right down here. So it came close to it within a couple ticks of it, but it didn't stop you out. That's why on some of these trades, you got to give them a little bit of wiggle room. And even if you did get stopped out, you could have re-entered on this bar right here. When it popped right back up. I know that's hard to do. You get stopped out and then you have to pop right back in. But all right, just looking at this chart, and I'm going to ask an obvious question to make sure everybody's still awake and paying attention. Yeah, MG, this is really not a good, I'm using this as an example purely to show sort of what's a good box and what's not a good box. In reality, this all shotgunned after the close, right? I mean, the close is 13, and then 1301 is here, 1302 is here, and 1303. So all these bars painted within like 2, 3, 4 minutes from all the way at the close over here. So some buy program kicked in right at the close and pushed this market very precipitously up. I mean, 13 to 1301, just to give you a reality check on this. Here's the close in the market at 1300 right here. The first minute after the close goes all the way over to here. So, all these bars printed in a minute. The fact of the matter is that was just simply not tradable. You could have never, you could have thrown a market order in there and who knows where you would have been filled. Even over here, you were still moving pretty quick. Here's 1302 is from here all the way to here. That's 1 minute. So this is a fast, very fast moving market. I'm just using this to show you more or less what the price pattern looks like for good and bad region boxes. We'll look at other examples too. I'm just using this right now. All right, so you're entering at the mid-band with the region boxes on these trades, and I'm going to ask an obvious question that should be a no-brainer for everybody here tonight. What is your initial target for your trade? What are you going for? This trade right here. Here's another region box right here. There's actually two that could be right here. You had one here, very tight, right at the mid-band. Which is that's like 4 to 6 ticks. That's extremely tight. Here, this has been closer to probably 8 or 9, 10 ticks. Long only. Where's your first target when you get filled out of these boxes? Where are you shooting to go? It's right on the chart. Where's your target? Go ahead, type it in. Type in a number. I helped you out. I helped you see it. So here's your support line. Good. Yeah. 84 3/4. 85. 84 if you want to fade it. Right? Right up here. I put the line right here. Here's the resistance level. Came up to it 1, 2, 3, 4 times. You had 1, 2, 3. Come back one more time. No, three good trades. 3 good long trades. Right? Here's the third one right here. See the region box? All good boxes. So when you're in a range like this, you're fading 84, 3/4. You're getting out at 84. So you're essentially scalping. And I would keep a tight stop on what could be runners. It depends on how tight you keep your stops. Here's an example here where you started to get a series of higher lows right in here. And if you wanted to catch a little bit of a runner, you could, if you had two on, peeled one off up here, and then put your stop kind of right under this swing right here to see if you went ahead and got a runner. And then started to stair step up a little higher, take out that top, start to run up. All right, so let me ask a question here. Other than the three that I've drawn, is there another good box here? Well, it is, Brian. And normally in a range like this, there's really two sort of scalper targets, and it really depends on where you're filled. In the case of getting fill here lower, right at the midband, in the case of this box right here, technically your scalp would be, perhaps this pop right here. Okay, that would be your, if you're trading multiples, that meaning three or more. Pulls back, checks the top of the box, just wicks it, and then you pop up to what could be considered your secondary target. So, if you thought scalping was this third line right here, then that's a good, that's probably 4 or 5 ticks right there. This is closer to 10, probably, I'm guessing. 10 or 12, depending on how much you fade that swing right there. All right, now there's one more good box on this chart. Where is it? I'll give you 10 seconds to type it in, 15 seconds actually, and you can do it either time-wise. Here's the time down here. I'm in California, so this is Pacific time. 15:08, 12, etc. over here. Or you could do it on price. So that would be a price level, like 43.74 to 76 or whatever over here. There's one more good box. Where is it? Time or price-wise? I'll just give you 10 seconds because we got a lot to cover. Seven seconds. Where is the other good box on this chart? Time-wise or level-wise? There's another one here. Got 5 seconds left to type in where you see it. You should be able to see this pretty quickly and easily. Okay, Richard C., no problem. We'll see you tomorrow in the room. No problem. You got to go early. This is recorded. It'll be up on the web tomorrow morning in the subscriber area. Okay, time's up. I see most of you got this right. 15, 26, 59. It's hard to see over here, I know, and so I'll cut you a little slack on that. If you said anywhere from, and this was the box right here, long only enabled, engulfing the swing and the midband and the wicks of the candles. So if you said anywhere between, I don't know, 15, 20-ish, let's do a double check on the size of the box, make sure we're still good here. You can visually see it, but you can measure it also. So the box started forming about 15, 23, and ended up over here around 59. So this is where the market started to settle down. Long only, you got filled on this bar right here, and you got a nice pop-up. Bottom of the box would have been located at 82.50, and the top was located at 84.50, 84 3/4. So yeah, you're looking at 8 to 9 ticks. Good box. All right, That was good. Everybody got that. Yeah, you got it, Diane. Now let's look at some examples of bad boxes. Now that we've seen the good, let's see some bad. So that when you see the bad, it will become apparent to you that you're not going to want to use a region box type approach. Here's some examples of very not good boxes. Hold on, give me a second here. Let me do this. Here we go. I'm going to bring this up. This is a YM chart from today, and this is also going into the close. Are there good boxes and bad boxes on here? And if so, can you see where they are? Are there good boxes and bad boxes on here? And can you see where they are? Examples of good and bad on the same chart. Yes, both. Okay, Adam. I know there's so many of them, it's going to be hard to type them all in. So let's just cover them very quickly together. Oh, you're getting them, Brian. Okay, good at 1302 and 1524. Okay, good. Yeah. You called out the good ones, Brian. Good call. Let's start with a couple bad ones, and then we'll show the good ones. Peter, I see you're typing them in. Excellent. This is an example of not a good box. Right here. Mainly on two reasons. The size, obviously, the size is the number one reason. So just size-wise, you're looking at, 17,739 at the bottom, and the tops of these candles up here are at 53. So how large is that box? 14 ticks. Yeah, Brian, that was the bad one. That's one of the bad ones. Here's another example of a one I don't think would be that interesting either, would be this one right here. It's a little smaller than the one to the left, but it's still probably pushing 13, 14 ticks. This is probably closer to 15 ticks, this box on the left right here. And the one on the right. That's examples. I mean, if you want just a quick rule of thumb, if you don't want to have to think a whole lot about it, pretty much anything under 10 ticks is going to be a good box. I mean, if you're at 8, 9, 10 ticks or lower, you got an example of a good box. Here's an example of one right here. See that one? This was a good one. That was a good one. You could have done that one right there. This one plowed up through the mid-band. You didn't really get too much of a chance for anything before it pushed up back up to the top of this trading range. So here you could pretty much put two lines on the chart here because it was in this range all the way to the close. Resistance, of course, up in this area right here, 70, 75-ish. And then, you had the mid-band as support at one point, and of course you can see you had this area down here with support right around 20. Yeah, this is the one thing that I want to put a caveat on, is when you're in a trading range, okay, and this is you're kind of hitting on it right with your question there, Mindy. If you're in a trading range like this, and the mid-band is located somewhere right in the middle, sometimes that can be extremely risky, and that's why it makes these boxes over here, these two boxes to the left, very risky. Because, first of all, do you enable shorts and longs? You're going into the close. I treat the last hour of trading kind of like the open, where markets can kind of go either way, unless you're in a very strong, unless it's in a trend and it's very clear. If you're range bound like this and you want to trade it into the close, then you got to be prepared to take longs and shorts. Risk there is you get head faked out of a box. So, I mean, you're going to have to sort of play that one by ear depending on what the market looks like when you're looking at it, if you're trading that late in the day. Some other good, examples of good boxes here would be right here and right here. These look very similar to the ones we looked on NASDAQ a couple minutes ago. Right in here's another good box. Now, you know, you could make the case that we were starting to get a little bit higher lows and higher highs. Now, in the case of these two boxes to the right, these would be long only, right over here, because now you're starting to go into an uptrend. You're coming out of the sideways price action. You're starting to put in higher lows and higher highs. See how you're starting to trend up here? So in the case of the right, with the background green like it is, those would be long only boxes. In fact, these are right after the close, so I don't know how much trading you'd be doing with those. Questions on that? Michelle, it's not so much the importance of that they straddle the midband like that. It's more the size of it. And here's the reasoning is that boxes of this size tend to be prone to head fakes. And, you know, you've got a fairly clearly defined swing area up in this area right here, 70 to 75. And so the fact of the matter is, if you get filled out of this box on the close of this bar right here, how much profit do you really have to get to until you hit a resistance area? There's no meat in that there. See what I mean? Likewise on the short side, even if you did get filled short, on a close below, hypothetically, if you were trading the range, both enabling both sides, and you got filled on the close of a bar here. Here I was trying to show this over here, right? There's just no, you know, by the time you get filled, there's nowhere for it to go. Likewise, if you got filled short, just hypothetically, and we know support, we have the swing, you could have drawn a line right there, you would have known that's not even hardly a scalp, really. You'd have to get down your stop would have to move so quickly to just protect you. It's just there's nothing here. I mean, you have to decide whether you're going to trade this range at all. And if you are, you know, you're buying support or shorting the top, buying support, shorting the top. You want to kind of stay away from the mid-band when the condition looks like this, right here. In a range, a lot of consolidation around the mid-band, semi not tradable. That's probably the best way to put it. Yeah, Brian, I know that, he's making a comment here regarding the first 2 hours of the day. I agree with you. Most days I'm pretty much done by, you know, when we close the room, 8:30. Occasionally I'll go in, like yesterday, Fed day, I went in and looked at it a little bit, took a couple of trades. But that's only because it was Fed and there's news late in the day. Otherwise, pretty much, you know, you can make your money in the first couple hours and be done. Enjoy the rest of the day with whatever you need to do. Okay, good. Let's get the Russell down here, and look at a couple Russell setups real quick. By what? Just a quick question, pop question for the team, everybody in here tonight. How many of you still trade the Russell? How many of you still trade the Russell? Anybody still trade the Russell? You go ahead and pay the data fee and trade it, or is everybody kind of let go of it? Just a question, just a wondering there. Oh, interesting. No, not yet. No Russell. Let go of it. Watching crude oil, YM, and NASDAQ. Okay, all right. All right, we're going to do a series of questions now to see how much all of you have paid attention tonight. I'm going to do a series of 10-second trade calls using region boxes, and I'm going to make the answer pretty easy. It's going to be yes or no, or G. We'll do G for good and a B for bad. So you got to hit one letter. Oh yeah, Brian. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Okay, let me clean this up a little bit here. Take the predictor off. I'm going to go pretty quick on these. 10 seconds, and you have to type in a G for good or a B for bad. We're looking at the Russell. Ready? First box. Right hand side of the chart, 10 seconds on the clock. G for good box, B for bad box. We're looking right here. G for good, B for bad. 9 seconds left. Type in a letter. I suggest everybody, if you can, for the next 20 minutes or so, try to participate. That's how you learn, muscle memory. You see price patterns and then they repeat themselves. That's how you learn to trade. To the extent you participate, it goes into your memory bank and sticks with you for when you're looking at real-time charts. 4 seconds left. G or B, is it good or bad? Here again, right-hand side of the chart. Right over here. Time's almost up. 2 seconds. Good or bad? Time's up. Yeah, Dennis, that's a good point. Dennis typed in a thing that's really good for most of you to know is once you learn the price patterns that we cover in the webinars, like Gary's trade setups from last night and these boxes and what have you, if you can do market replay, that's really good. Do it like 50 times so you really get to see those patterns quickly. All right, the answer is bad. Primarily for not so much the location of it in the fact that it's sort of hovering above the midband there, but it's definitely the size. Okay, we can just visually see that the top of the box would have to be up around 1150.50 and the bottom of the box is down here. It's just way too large. Furthermore, just like that other example on NASDAQ, we can see here that even if we, since green background, blue bar stair-stepping up, uptrend, we enable the long side, we get filled on a close outside of it, where's it going to hit its head? If you get filled long here, how much room do you have to make any money? Almost nothing, right? It's too large. This was a bad box. Okay, ready? Let's do another one. That was good. Everybody got that right. Good deal. It's good to see you're paying attention. Ready? Here is box number 2. Still the Russell. Later in the morning today, this is, I think, right around 11 o'clock Pacific today. Okay, are you ready? Okay, I'm going to reveal it in 1 second. Man, these charts are just not cooperating today, I'll tell you. Here you go. Box number 2, G or B. Good or bad? And this is actually a 2-part question. Let's do the first part. Let's just get the good and bad out of the way. We'll do 10 seconds, then I'll throw the second part out at you. 8 seconds. Good or bad? G or B? Just type it in. Good or bad? If you saw this box tomorrow on the Russell, would you box it in? That's pretty much the question. I'm not making them easy. This is a little tougher. Okay, second part of the question while you're typing in your answer. I'm sorry, the box is over here, MG. I should have circled it. My apologies. I'll give you a little extra time here. But over here, right over here. So whenever I show these boxes, they will always be on the right-hand side of the chart. You always want to look right here for the question that we had, good or bad, right in here. Second part of the question, for those of you that have answered, we'll give an extra 10 seconds for this. Type in SO short only, LO long only, or both, B. If you were going to box this in, would you be short only, SO, long only, LO, or both, B? Which direction would you take the box? Look at what's around you, around this area right here. We're referring to right here. All right, interesting. We get a real mix of answers coming in here. Quite a few are saying good box. Oh, Peter, you already, before I asked the question, good for short only. Short onlys, both, a couple of 13 ticks bad. Okay, a couple of bads coming in here. Pat, Adam don't like it. The other thing we don't know here is, and this is another factor I should mention while you're pondering your answers there, is it also comes into play whether you have any kind of news or a high energy time around when the boxes are forming. That comes into play. All right, now, okay, time's up. Now, in regards to the good-bad issue, this I would put right on the cusp of acceptability. If your rule is hard and fast at 10 ticks and it goes above 10 ticks and that's your rule, then you have a bad box and you rule it out, okay? The exception you could make to that is the fact, and this is where it comes into play for me personally, is if it's a couple of ticks over 10, where I might take it is I'm expecting a good move. Say, like, for instance, if this was a high energy time today around 11-ish, that would come into play. The other is how clean the top and bottom of the box is. So for instance, you know, you've got the top of the box more or less kind of here and the bottom down here. So, you know, let me measure this out. You know, you're right at the cusp of acceptability here. You know, you're right on the edge of it. Let's measure it real quick here. So yeah, you're looking at 5120 and the top's at 5110. So 11, 12 ticks maybe. If the box is positioned really right on the midband like this, straddling it, and the top is fairly well defined and clean, and the bottom of the wicks of the candles are fairly tight and clean, I would probably go ahead and box that in and favor the downside only. So it would be SO, short only, because you have a red background and we're looking for the market to roll and break down here. We have a proprietary software we've used for years, Pat, that identifies the high energy times, and that's why we send them out twice a day for the morning and the evening sessions. But that's how they're generated. That's why they're so different from day to day. It's this proprietary software we use. So, you know, this was a tricky one, because you're right on the edge of acceptability. So that's what I'm trying to say. It's the reason I threw out 10 ticks is that if you want to just have a go-to number that you think about, and you don't want to straddle, have any kind of gray areas, well, then stick with the 10. Okay. If you see something that's like 11 or 12 and it's pretty clean and you're expecting a move, well, go ahead and box it in. Now, if you get up pushing this 15 ticks, 14, 15 tick plus like this is definitely a no-go right here. Let me put these two on the same screen so you can see them sort of together. Hold on, let me scrunch this down a little bit, see if I can get both boxes shown together. Can you see the difference between the boxes, both in positioning and size? This box right here on the left, on the right, and this box on the left. See, the positioning and size are very different. All right, good. Okay, good. Let's move on. Let me. Anybody want to see some crude oil setups? Anybody trade crude oil in here? Crude traders, reveal yourselves. Just type in a yes or a Y if you like crude and you trade it. If you don't, that's okay too. Try to load up a crude chart here. Yeah, oh, quite a few yeses. Quite a few yeses trade. Okay, let's get a crude chart up here. Stand by. Now, crude can really, if you trade crude or you even just watch the chart, you know that it is prone to both types of boxes. You can get some days where it kind of behaves itself, you know, and you get some good setups and they're fairly clean and it respects swings and what have you. And then there's other days where oil is just, you know, all due respect, messy. You know, it's just messy. All right, let's bring the crude chart up here. Let's see if I can look at some examples here. I'm going to open, I've got a chart of crude here. I'm going to ask an open-ended question. You ready? Here we go, 10 seconds on the clock. Crude oil chart. Are there any good boxes on this chart? Yes or no? You don't have to type in if you see a good box or a bad box. You don't have to identify a time or a price level. 10 seconds on the clock. Question is, do you see one? A good box on this chart of crude oil. So it's a yes or no question. Yes, I see a good box. No, I don't see a box. All right, we got some answers coming in here. A lot of no's, a couple of yeses. Hey, Chris, I didn't see you come in there. Hi, hey, Chris. 602, some good answers. 645, bunch of no's. Okay. All right, 2 seconds if you haven't answered yet. Do you see any good boxes on here on the crude oil chart? Yes or no? Some of you have typed in times, but you don't have to type in a time. Just a yes or no. All right, time's up. So let's start on the right and work our way backwards in time. Everybody can pretty much see that the right-hand side most part of the chart, there's definitely not good trading bad boxes all the way over here. So definitely not here, right? This is a big no-no. This is borderline not tradable. You know, it's so whippy over here, it's hard to really tell what the heck's going on in there. In fact, I think this was the tail end of the room being open. This crude was very messy today. Around 7 o'clock, you know, some of you might have typed this in. It happened very quickly. I don't know if there would have been time enough to really get it. There was kind of a little one form right there. You can make the case that maybe that could have been one, but it wasn't available to set up very long. It was kind of moving quick, so I don't really know if you had the time to get it. This would definitely be considered a bad box right here, so no go on this one. Right? See how big it is? I don't even have to measure it. You can visually see. Pretty much visually you can see. You know, I mean, I'm just contrasting the size of these three boxes, these two and this one, with the size and location of this one. See the difference? You could make the case, depending on how long it sat there. This is right at the pit open. So I don't trade the pit open on crude, but if you were there, you know, you might have had a little shot at a short right there, right at 6 o'clock. So, you know, you said anywhere like 6, 601, 602. You know, here again, you would have to draw that pretty fast because it looks like by 604, 605, it ripped down, you know, it just ripped down out of there for that short. I don't know if you guys caught that in the room. Anybody trade this morning with Gary? Right the pit open at 6? Was anybody in there? I don't know. You did? Did you catch it? You remember if you caught that trade, Brian? And these two on the left, oh, they did. You caught that. Okay, good. Excellent, excellent. All right, now these are kind of borderline. This one to the left, definitely a no-go over here in the pre-market before the pit opens on crude. Definitely a no-go there. And this is pushing the envelope of acceptability right here. You know, this is a half an hour before the pit open. Anything like this, you're probably just going to want to wait. You know, to give you a nice trade. I mean, if you took it, if you were there in the pre-market watching it, you got filled on this bar right here. You know, and that did turn out to be a nice long trade if you took it. Let's just look at the size of this crude box real quick here and see if it meets our criteria in terms of the size. So you had support right around the mid-band there at 45.29, and then resistance up here at, well, 40. Okay, you're right at the cusp, 11 ticks. Yeah, the 7 o'clock box, without question, the only two real, I would say really good. Well, this is borderline. This box right here, 11 ticks, right on the cusp of acceptability. This would have been a good box at 6. No go here on this one. You got another one here around 7:15ish. You know, you might have popped a quick something out of that, and then 2 no goes over there. The small group of red. We had a question from Michelle here. Small group of red candles at 431. 431. You mean this cluster down here? Right here? Or over here to the left? This cluster right here? Are you asking about this one? Let's call that box A or box B. Here, Michelle, or here on your question? The top part up here? You could make a case. Yeah, you could make a case that was certainly a size-wise and location-wise that was acceptable. I don't know that I'd really be boxing in this right here simply because you're far away from the mid-band. You really wouldn't want to enable shorts because you could get a head fake, and you don't want to take it long because you're down at the bottom of the swing. Right? Here's the thrust. This is the thrust move. As a rule of thumb, I rarely ever box in a thrust move. Right? I mean, the exception to that would be if, let's say, hypothetically, there's a high energy and or a major news event at 7 o'clock, a market has run up and it's peaked, and you're looking for a rollover to take a counter trend off a V-shaped top. But rarely, I really don't take those. For me personally, my go-to trade in terms of region boxes is right at or on the mid-band. So that would be an ideal one right there, and here would be another one right here. Those are like some of my go-to trades right there. Anything larger than that or located way away from the band, simply because when you get out here, just like this box here, right? You're right at the cusp of a you know, do you want to short this and expecting a reversion to the mid-band, so which isn't very far? I mean, by the time you get, plus you're right at the open of the pit. I mean, you know, it could go either way. Get filled on the bottom of this bar right here. How far is it to the mid-band? There's really no meat in that trade, right? And the other thing, well, if you say, well, just make it long only, well, then how many times do you see a little head fake up, a couple of ticks, and slammo, you're back in your big box? Does that make sense? So that's really not why that we, you know, built the region trading box into Object Trader. It was more for the mid-band retraces. All right, we got a little bit more time. Let's do a couple more crude oils. This would have been late in the day yesterday. Let's do this area right here. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Rightmost side, right hand part of the chart. It's good box or bad box? Right here. 10 seconds. G or B? Good or bad? It's one or the other. It's not. There's no in between on this one. Either it's good or bad. It's that simple. So if you saw this on crude oil tomorrow, would you draw a box around it and take it? Five seconds left. Last couple of trades, so if you can, make sure you jump in and offer an answer here. G or B, good or bad? Two seconds. All right, time's up. All right, the vast majority of the answers here from everybody are bad. However, there are a couple of goods sprinkled in there. And it really comes down to whether you're focusing on, I should have maybe showed it more like this, because I think some of you might have been looking at this little collection of candles right here. That wasn't really the question. I was looking at more this whole area right here. Is this the question? I should have been more clear on that, so my apologies. But you know, the question was really this area right here. And I would submit to you that not even this area right here would be necessarily that good, simply because why? Why would even trying to say that, make the case that this box was good, why would that box not be good? Notwithstanding the fact that it could meet the size criteria. Like here, for instance, let's say, you know, support was at 23, 22, 24-ish, and the top was at 31. Yeah, so size-wise, you could make the case that that met the criteria, and I think that's probably why some of you typed in good. You might have been looking right at those candles right there. But even though that size-wise met the criteria, why would it not be good? Why would it not be good? Why would this box not be good, even though it's well within the 10 tick criteria? It's only 7-8 ticks. So really, from a size-wise, it is a good box, yes? Yeah, there's no trend. There's nowhere for it to go. Where's support and where's resistance? Right? This is the other factor we have to take into account. What's going on around us? Are we trending? Is this really a retracement region from a trend, which is what we like, right? I mean, I would submit to you that resistance is right there and support is right here. So if you box in the midband, what do we say are usually times when using a midband box are not good? Not even if the size is okay. It's when you're in a tight range, because there's nowhere for this thing to go. By the time you get filled, you're right at resistance. This is just not tradable. I mean, I don't know how else to put it to you. I'll just tell you straight up. In my view, this area here is not tradable. You got to wait for it to break one way or another and pull back and give you a trade setup. Yeah, no, there's no trend there. No meat on the bone, Adam. That's right. Maurizio, that's correct. Yeah, support resistance are way too close. And so you have to assess that, you know. You have to assess your condition. Questions on that? That's really important. Yeah, that's really important that you put your lines on your charts, just like we show in the room, right? You determine whether you got a real setup there or not. Plus, the second part of unacceptability here is, would you box this in its current condition, doing long only, short only, or both? Or there's no trend to know. There's no trend here to know whether it's long or short, right? So you might have to do both. And you could wind up with a case where you get filled long, boom, hit the top, boom, hit the bottom, and you get stopped out in the middle and you get all chopped to heck in here. So really, you know, in all due respect to everybody here, these areas you just got to stay out of. Okay, look for something else or wait for it to break and give you a retracement. Ready? All right, let's move on. I think I can squeak one more in here. Let me try to squeak one more in. All right, stand by. Let me clean this chart off, and I'll do one more. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. All right, here we go. Ready? 10 seconds on the clock. Last trade call. Right-hand side of the chart, is that a good box or a bad box? I'm going to do a sort of a two-part question here. But I'll start with this one here, and there's 9 seconds on the clock. G or a B? Our eyes are focused right over here. G or a B? I see many G's coming in. For those of you with the yes and the G's. Follow-up question, second part. We'll give you an extra 5 seconds. Long only L, short only S, B, both. If you were going to box it, and many of you said you would, long only L, short only S, B, both ways. Second part of the first question, good, bad box. You're right at about 11:20 Pacific. I think this was yesterday. Yeah, this would have been yesterday. So you have a rock and roll day. Of course, yesterday was crude oil inventory at 7, or was it 7:30? All right, time's up. I would consider this a good box, and I would. It was definitely long only. Trend is up very clearly, no question about it. Here's how you can, and we try to not necessarily be kind of a deer in the headlights when you get a powerful move up like this. There's no question the trend is up. We're stair-stepping higher. Bands in the mid-band are all heading higher. Bars are blue, background's green. No question about long only uptrend. We all see that, right? And here's your telltale sign that the power of the trend is very strong. Your retracements for all of these pullbacks are very shallow. Every one of them. Every single one of them is very shallow. Anybody know why that is? Why do some trends have only these little shallow retracements, and other trends you get real deep pullbacks into the mid-band or even deeper? Why is that, you think? Anybody? Profit taking. That's right. Levels of profit taking. That's exactly what it is. Most of the markets are run by computers, algorithms and scripts that trade the markets. And of course there's some human intervention in there, but it's pretty much the computers and the scripts. So what happens is these scripts are programmed to take some profit. Now, if the script is only taking a little bit of profit, well then the retracements are very shallow. And so you don't really get a mid-band pullback to really try to get in, right? So you have to recognize that. When you have a powerful uptrend, you're just not getting those deep enough retracements. It's not getting back into here. The profit taking is not sufficient in the uptrend to pull it back to here. Now this would be a long only enabled box in the event that you just happen to hit the time where the profit taking is a little deep and it comes all the way to here. If it did that, that's perfectly okay, because you could simply come down and reset your box down here. I should just draw another one, right? If it takes the bottom of the box out, you're not filled because you don't get long. And the likelihood is pretty strong that it's going to continue. And what I was trying to say was, if it does happen to take a little more profit taking and come and check the mid-band, you might get a second chance at the box. Get rid of that first box and go ahead and put another one down there, right? All right, good. I think almost everybody got that one right. Good box, long only. And let's see how it panned out. Went up to fresh highs and kept rocking and rolling. That turned out to be a very, very most excellent box. A good deal. All right, final question, and we got to wrap because we're a little bit over here. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. It's the last question. Everybody's done extremely well. From about middle of from here back this way, are there any good boxes on the chart, and where would they be located? Time-wise or price-wise? So from here back, say this line right here backwards, all the way over to here, 951 at the left edge of the chart. Are there any other good boxes located on the chart? And if you see them, where are they located, either time-wise or price level-wise? We'll give you 15 seconds for this one because it might take you a little bit more time. You have to kind of study the chart a little bit. What do you think? Is there any other good boxes here? Crude oil, late morning. about 10 till about 11 for about an hour. Is there any region box chicken dinners in there for you? What do you say, team? What do you say? Last question, last trade call of the morning or the evening here. Time's almost up. 8 seconds. Looking for more good boxes on the chart. Left-hand side, left-hand half of the chart. Time's almost up. See quite a few very good answers coming in here. Pat, Adam, Pete, Dennis got some numbers in here. MG and Jim looking good. Maurizio, those look good. Stephen, Chris, Michelle. All right, good. Time's up. Okay. I see three. Good boxes. You might have seen more than that, but the three that I see are right here. 11:02-ish time-wise, and it looks like it would have been right around maybe 44.65, the mid-band here. Second one I would say would be right here. It's a pretty good-looking box right there. So 10:58, anywhere around 44.73. And the final one, which is right on the cusp of acceptability in my opinion, would be right here. This would be a long-only box, of course. Your trend was up. You got filled and got a scalp out of it, and then it reversed kind of back in your face. So you didn't get much out of this one. This one gave you a decent short, and of course you got a nice long that turned into the long trend from the right. So most of you answered and got all that right. Well, yeah, I mean, you could make the case. I was kind of excluding this one a little bit in the fact that 11:04 would have been a good box. Yeah, I was kind of looking back this way from this point back. But yeah, that 11:04, if you type that in, was another good box. Absolutely. Plus then, of course, these ones all to the right in the uptrend. 100%, Dennis. All right, good for you. You get the gold star. I think most of you, there were quite a few folks in here that got everything right. I'm going to go